Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about complete back development. People can say a lot about me, but they can't say I don't have pretty decent back development. And again, I'm a strong deadlifter. You guys have seen me pull up to 635 completely raw. So deadlifts contribute to it, and I do want them to be included in it, but I also want to make it clear that deadlifts themselves are probably not your best back builder. They really don't work the lats and things. They're good for traps and stuff like that. Good for erectors, but they're really more of a posterior chain exercise any way you break it down. But I do want to include them in here because they are part of the overall back training. And this is just, a standard week for me. This is just showing from one of my upper and one of my lower body workouts, just all the stuff that I do for back, in an average week. And this is what my back training looks like. And I think when we look at back, people overcomplicate the back because there's so many muscles involved. As far as a muscle group goes, it has the most muscles involved. Okay. Now, accordingly, it really isn't that complicated to work all of those things and to work all of them completely. And I think a lot of people mess up and they start obsessing over things like squeezing, contracting, everything else. And of course, you guys see that I still have loose skin in these clips from losing over 100 pounds when I was younger. But I'm 46 right now, walking around just over 220. So just over 100 kilograms body weight. But this is what I do, guys. So you're seeing right here, kind of the start of the week, the first back exercise is a pull-up. Okay. Pull-ups are great. I think they're a fantastic lat builder. I don't think they're necessarily the overall best back builder compared to rows. I think rows provide a little more, overall development, right? But pull-ups are absolutely up there. They're great. And I like chin-ups too, but if we're going to talk purely back development, I do think that pull-ups, with a pretty wide grip, done for a full stretch at the bottom, as deep as you can personally go, right? We all have different ranges of motion. I think they're arguably the best lat builder. I think they do a lot for lower traps, mid traps, stuff like that. They can even be decent for rear delts, okay? Because rear delts really do contribute to our back. They're part of our back. Most back exercises work them. But I like pull-ups. I think pull-ups are great. I think they're great. And I think particularly for lats. And again, I don't think people need to worry about all this squeezing, contracting, all this stuff you see people talking about. Okay? I think all of that's nonsense. Again, my observation, it's never been required for anyone to have just a monstrous ripped back. It's just not required. And there's no evidence or reason to think it helps. But the stretching is kind of a big deal. All right, range of motion matters. So what you saw there are my pull-ups and my rows, right? The rows in that case, I've done a lot of different types of rows on camera over the years. Different types of rows, tons of different ones, right? Now, at the time that this video is being made, I'm messing more with bent over rows and just trying to get a stretch at the bottom. Those are relatively strict. I can go pretty heavy. I can go well over 100 pounds heavier when I cheat a little bit. But those are really high reps, real strict. Taking them to a full stretch at the bottom, right? So we bend over as much as possible. You kind of RDL it up, bend over, and take the range of motion as deep as you can. Get a stretch in the lats. Again, the idea is the same either way. It's always that stretch in the lats. I think that is absolutely critical. That's a big component. It's a massive component to our back development. And I think right there, those two together pretty well would, for most people, that would cover 90% of your back. It really would. Those two movements. Now, for additional stuff, because I'm using them for shoulder mobility and everything else, I'm doing pullovers. They're a good chest exercise. They even work the long end of the tricep, which is really a lagging area for me. But do they contribute to back development? Yeah, they put a good stretch on the lats. They hammer the middle traps. Like, in my opinion, this exercise, when I do it, hits my middle traps really hard to the point of where they actually can get sore from it. Okay, so I don't want to not include them in the conversation. Plus, for those of us who've had a lot of shoulder mobility problems and shoulder issues, who can't always even get the range of motion we'd like on pull-ups, I'm rebuilding all of that right now after some shoulder issues. The pullovers can help. These can actually help you build range of motion and mobility so that you can get into a deeper stretch on your pull-ups. So even that secondary benefit, absolutely there, and it can't be ignored. It has to be, factored into the equation. It really does. So I think that they're a nice little added touch. This is one of these exercises that can do a lot of little things that start adding up, but it is still a lat exercise and it's a trap exercise. So, if we're going to talk about back development, I don't think it's a bad idea to throw it in there and discuss it. So again, we have vertical pulling, horizontal pulling, right? All very back dominant, nice stretch at the bottom of the ranges of motion. Then you have that pullover. Then, we're going to have to talk about deadlifts. Okay, everyone knows conventional deadlift is my favorite exercise. You guys have seen me deadlift 635 with a belt. I've pulled 605 beltless on camera without a belt. It's completely raw. This is just, nice heavy work sets. These aren't crazy heavy. Again, just work sets because these are done after squatting. But does it contribute to your back? I think that it does. I think it absolutely contributes. I think particularly to the traps, particularly to the erectors, right? You're pulling from the floor, you're deadlifting, any of your hip hinging. It matters. Does it still work lats? Another thing. I think that it does. And again, if people want to talk about a squeeze and a contraction, not that that's worth that much. It really isn't. Deadlifts are going to squeeze and contract all of that in that shortened position more than a cable row or a lat pull down will. Think about the tension involved, right? Way more. That's the reason on an EMG, which again is not the be all end all. That's the reason on EMGs that deadlifts actually sometimes show to be the most powerful lat exercise, right? Because it's just measuring electric activity. And because it's in a contracted position, there's a ton of weight in the contracted position. It lights the EMG up. That does not always correlate to muscle growth. I want to be clear there. But in terms of activity, it's there. And I do think that there's a meaningful contribution to your overall back development from the deadlifts. I don't think by themselves that they are particularly good for your back. But I think when we factor into everything else we're doing, I think they are important. They do play a role. They have a place there, even though really the majority of the work is being done by your posterior chain. All right, guys. Well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.